Hey, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host of Sales and Cigars. Today's episode, we have a gentleman named Chaz Horn. If you're on LinkedIn, it's hard to miss him. He's out there trying to help salespeople, business owners understand sales and marketing, how they should play nice together, how if you have the right kind of marketing and you're speaking to your audience correctly, you'll increase your engagement and your closing, or as he calls it, onboarding. So go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in for another fun episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks. So Chaz, I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to jump on the program. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to meet with you, Walter. Thanks for having me.
So, we're in we're in the same space. We're trying to help salespeople and companies get better and improve their sales. I think we approach it from different angles. So I'm kind of looking forward to having that conversation and giving the audience a different perspective and a chance maybe to learn something new. So let's jump into it. I'd like to start with, you're an entrepreneur, you're a sales guy. Why? Like, how'd you get into sales? Like, how did that start? Because it's always an interesting story.
Right. Yeah, great question. So I got into sales out of necessity. I was needing to make some money. I was living in Northern California at the time, and I saw an ad, sales position. So I got hired. It was 100% commission, and I was the absolute worst salesperson in the company, Walter. There's 119 salespeople, and I was 119th. And my boss, Ken Upton, became my mentor when he had me over for dinner one night, and I was pretty hungry. I don't think I've eaten in a couple days. I hadn't made any sales. I was the worst salesperson in the company. You understand what I'm trying to say here, right? So he had me over for dinner, and after dinner, he took me into the den. If you can imagine, kind of like a master speaking to the pupil, a professor talking to the student, fire in the fireplace, and he said, Chaz, 3 words that changed my life. You can be. And the reason why that spoke to me is because I never thought I had much potential. I didn't have a lot of people speaking into my life. I'm not a victim. That's not why I'm saying this. It was someone in authority who saw potential in me, and he followed those 3 words with, you can be the top salesperson in the company. But, do you hate those big buts? 1 T, by the way, okay? Yeah, but you got to follow the system. You got to follow the process. We have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours creating this system and process. If you follow the system and you follow the process, you can be the top salesperson in the company. So the next day, I started following the system. I started following the process. 45 days later, I became the number 3 salesperson in the company. I never did reach number 1, but it's amazing when you have someone believing in you and giving you a system and process to follow step by step. That change in perspective, that shifted my mindset, took me from where I was with a proven system and process to being the number 3 salesperson in the company. And
it's a huge jump.
Yep,
I mean,
it was.
I mean, it's good to have mentors, but you did the work.
I did. I did.
Somebody can show you the way, pull the curtain back, allow you to see what's possible, but you still got to go do it, and you did it. So that's huge.
Yes. It was, you know what it was, and this is the problem with salespeople when they're first getting into something. They have that fear, they don't want to sound salesy, or they just don't know what to say. And so that fear keeps them from following the system and following the process because it's so far outside their comfort zone. But him just saying, hey, follow the system and the process, and he preceded that by saying, you can be. So combining those, I faced my fear, I followed the system, I followed the process. And back then, I mean, this is a long time ago, it's like 30 years ago, okay? And I was selling advertising, and I remember I called someone, and I said, I was saying, hey, I'm in the area, would you be interested? Sure. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I would show up at the office, I would give them a pitch, And if I didn't walk out with a check, I wasn't going to get the sale. And I remember walking out with a check for $4,500. I'm like, wow. And that was a lot of money back then. You know, it'd be like, I don't know, 12.5 today. And the guy just met me. And I'm like, wow, this works. And so that confidence kept me going and continuing to make sales. And so, yeah, 45 days later, I was number 3.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Most of us that I know in sales didn't think when they were in 6th grade, Johnny's going to be a fireman, and Susie wants to be a doctor, and Bob wants to be a fireman. There are very few kids want to be a salesman when they grow up, right? But to me, it's the best job on the planet. It's one of the highest paid jobs on the planet if we have the right situation. But it takes some guidance and some mentorship along the way, and then that work ethic. But for your sales manager to pull you in, sit you down in that environment, I kind of imagine you go from the dining room to the den with the fireplace and a cocktail, and you're just
no cigar. We didn't have any cigars though.
It's okay, all right. Most people don't allow that in their house, but I mean, just having that scene where you're like you're leaning in and engaged and soaking it all up, and then going and doing the work. That's the part that's awesome. So that informed you to being a great salesperson and understanding process and understanding doing the right activities and the right behaviors. So how did that progress?
Yeah, great question. So that took me into being near the top or at the top in sales for my career, working for other people. I worked in a host of different companies in 11 different industries, and I just remembered system, process, and I followed tactic, attitude, behavior. And so tactic is making a cold call. That would be a tactic. And having the right attitude, the right mindset, the perspective that we would say today. And then the behaviors. That's doing a certain number of the tactics. And if you do a certain number of the tactics with the right attitude, the right perspective, the right mindset, then you're going to get a certain outcome, a certain amount of meetings, a certain amount of clients. So I was doing that, and I became the top in sales, as I said, either the top or near the top in all the different companies I worked with. However, when I started to grasp marketing, here's the thing. You have marketing and you have sales. And I thought marketing was just a waste of time. Here I'm a salesperson, okay? A lot of salespeople think this way. And our sales department, if I was working in a company of any size, because I've worked in small businesses and large businesses, the marketing department was always thought by the salespeople as they put out brochures, they schedule events, and maybe they put out some stock images on social media. Waste of time, no leads. Now, marketing says to the salespeople, we generate all these leads, but you salespeople can't close them. There's that battle. The thing that me being where I am today, and I'm going to touch on the marketing and how I learned that, is sales and marketing needs to be in alignment. They have to work congruently. They have to work together like hand in glove. And so during this process, I'm thinking marketing is irrelevant. Then I got around some people that were at this level, small business owners, and you are where you are based on the peer group you surround yourself with. That's scientific. And they opened my eyes to true marketing. And I learned that marketing is about building confidence. You have to know your prospect. You have to know their main need. You have to know their main want. And when you know their need and want and speak to it in such a way that you solve their problem so that they can achieve their goals, they have confidence in you and your solution being able to solve their problem, that makes everything easier. So it used to be behavior, attitude, tactic, attitude, behavior. Now it's TTABS, tabs. So it's tactic with the right technique. Tactic is what you do. Technique is how you do what you do. Attitude, that's always there. That's the foundation. That's the hub. The behaviors, you always need to do those specific behaviors, those certain actions. But strategy this is what changed my life with sales, because I had a marketing strategy that was able to speak to my target audience and be able to build confidence in their mind about me and my solution being able to solve their problem. And Walter, was a whole different conversation. People would come into the conversation and it was, I don't say enamored, they just had a high respect for me and they saw me as an authority, as opposed to me trying to step by step through the sales process, build rapport, uncover the problem, what is costing them, how it's preventing them from reaching a goal or objective, and then presenting my laser-focused presentation. And by doing that, I say onboarding instead of sales or closing, because onboarding percentage, because I'd rather onboard people than close them. So my onboarding percentage went up around 35% when having an effective marketing strategy in place. And so now that's what I do. I have marketing and sales, and they have them working in alignment, and they have them working congruently with one another.
So is it fair? And that's a great. I love the TTABS, that element, because the technique needs to be there from a sales perspective, and the strategy piece. What I've learned over the last few years is that, and I think we're saying the same thing. It's just maybe just different vernacular, but we need to be able to speak to that person that we're trying to help and try to work with, and everything that we say, everything we publish, everything we put out on social media should be helping them understand and speak to them directly. Like, we get you. I understand what it's like to get up in the morning and be worried about your revenue forecast because it's the middle of the month, and you're worried about spending too much time at the office and coming home and not being present for your family. I mean, those are all things that entrepreneurs struggle with, and then just being able to keep that alignment and that voice the same. Am I close to what you're?
Yeah,
what you're
I think exactly. And you're going into, depending upon the size company, you have company branding and personal branding. And so a personal brand is who you are. And there's two things there. You have the needs and wants of your customers. You're speaking to them in a way that's inspirational, that's educational, and entertaining. It should be all three. And if you can combine all three of those within your content, like LinkedIn is one of my main platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube. It used to solely be LinkedIn, but I find you can't solely rely on one platform, so I combine the two. You got one that has a short-term algorithm, meaning the content that's going to be there for a couple of days, and then you have YouTube that's an evergreen. Your content is going to perform for years and years and years to come. So that being said, speaking to your audience, you got to be you. I tell my clients all the time, you being you will attract the exact right people to you and repel the wrong ones. Any good marketing is going to repel the wrong people and attract the right people, and you and your personality is going to attract the right people to you and repel the wrong ones. So yes, inspirational, educational, and entertaining, but also you need to be yourself. That's where you connect with people.
Yeah, you want to be authentic, right? And,
Big time.
Be who you are, because it's the cigar, right? The
I love
Sales and
it.
Cigars podcast.
Uh-huh.
I mean, those are things that are me, and that doesn't fly with everybody. And I learned a long time ago.
It's okay.
Because I've been in. Yeah, it is. That's exactly it. I'm perfectly fine with. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not like I'm trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but I mean, I talk a certain way. I'm very brash about transparency and being clear, but it's not always soft and fuzzy.
That's okay.
I was described as a football coach by one of my clients, and I was like, "Well, that could be good or bad." And he goes, "No, it's great. I would have run through a wall for my football coach." But he pissed me off all the time, right? but at the same time, right? You got the respect, and you got the guys to do more than what they thought they could do,
Right.
on a football field, and that's what you're talking about, is getting people to have the confidence that they can do the things that they really want to do, and So aligning marketing and sales, and I think that's getting better. I've been to a couple of conferences in the last 12 months, and the marketing people are on the stage with the sales people, and they're at least pretending that they're talking
Right.
and they're communicating these ideas and sharing ideas back and forth, which is helping each other, right? And
Right.
that's what you're talking about.
Yes, and it has to come down from leadership, but I mean, and it's changed. It's getting better. You see the companies that are, because right now we're in a transitional period in the marketplace. You say we're in a recession. I mean, it's definitely, some people are out there right now. There's some problems and some troubles. And if you don't have a message that's consistent and you're not working with sales and marketing in alignment with one another and getting together and saying, hey, here's our problems, how can we work together? So instead of having a sales meeting and a marketing meeting, it's let's get together every week and let's talk about our problems and challenges. We're both on the same team, and it's so wrong to separate the two. And so bringing those together is essential for growing in 2023 and beyond.
Definitely the leaders, like the VP of marketing, the CMO, the CRO, they got to be communicating on a consistent basis. They got to go do their own thing, right, to go execute on their jobs. But if they're not sharing information and, big picture, big data, little data even, and we're not, giving results to here's what we're hearing on the street, Mr. Marketing Person, and well, this is what the data shows us, Mr. Salesperson. I mean, those conversations are only going to make the company better.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because you're working with larger companies, but you're also working with individual solopreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm. Most of who I work with are usually 1 to 10. That's about 85%. And then the 15% typically are larger companies, 20 on up.
Okay. So if you're okay, I'm a solopreneur. I got a couple of part-time people. I got an assistant, but it's me.
Right.
So I got to be the sales guy, the business development guy, the marketing guy, the social media guy, the guy that goes out and does the stuff on a stage, and then, the guy that does this. Is that how do you help, in your business? How do you help somebody like that, prioritize where they go and what they should be putting out on LinkedIn and YouTube?
Yeah, that's a great question. By the way, that was me in 2016. So the thing I do with my clients first and foremost is get clarity. I have them create what they call not a mission statement, it's a sales and marketing mission statement, which is different. And it's about getting clarity on who they serve and what are the outcomes. Because what do people care about? They don't care about us. They don't care about me. They don't care about you, Walter. They care about the outcomes we provide. So they need to get super clear on who they're serving. Now, if it's a new business, that can be a challenge, and we work through that. But who do you work with? What's the outcomes? And then you create a value proposition. That's I help blank without doing X. That would be just a really rough, how you value proposition in place. And then who you work with, who you don't work with. And this, not only we're talking demographics, but I'm talking about the attributes of the people you want to work with. I don't work with people who are flaky, who aren't coachable, who aren't committed, who aren't decisive. I'm not going to mess with those. And I actually interview them in my sales process. And then it's like, identify the problems of the people in your target market. They're living in a hell, right? And so they're living in a hell, and they have to spell that out. They don't have blank in place, and because they don't have blank, it's affecting them in a certain way. It's causing them to lose sleep. All these different things, they get clarity on that, and then they take them from the hell into the heaven, and then they solve this problem. They get peace of mind. Then I have them list their onboarding percentage, or not onboarding percentage, but onboarding steps. I have them talk about their why they do what they do. Okay, going to Simon Sinek, start with why. And then what are the obstacles? This is where a lot of people get stuck. Because this sounds great, let's get going. And then they hit an obstacle and it's like, what do I do now? So I have them list the obstacles like, I don't have time, or I don't have this. It's like I give them a strategy to overcome that obstacle, like putting it in their calendar. That's the foundation. And then from there, it's about leverage, positioning, conversion. So your positioning is like on LinkedIn would be, or YouTube is your profile, is your YouTube page. Your profile should be set up in such a way so when people come to it, they pass the 3-second rule, just not dropping food on the ground and eating it, okay? That was like the 7-second rule when I grew up. It's about getting their attention so they're intrigued because you're speaking to their need and want, and so they go from top to bottom. The cool thing about LinkedIn profiles now, you can create it to be a landing page. And so your profile is set up, it speaks to their need, it speaks to their want. They start to see you as an authority, and then the leverage is your content that drives people to your profile, and then they see you as an authority, and then you can schedule meetings. There's a whole process they go through. What I do with my clients is that's the foundation. They get their positioning, they get their content out, and then I have them do live events. LinkedIn is a really good way with live events to attract an audience. You can invite 1,000 people a week. Everyone that joins the event can invite 1,000 people a week. They get people to the event so they're not speaking one-on-one, business development one-on-one, but they're getting people to the event and they're talking specifically to their needs and wants. I like audio events. That's my favorite right now. And from there, there's call to actions. And so pretty seamless process to get people into the event, build trust, build rapport, them start to see you as an authority, them starting to know you, like you, trust you. All that happens in this process, and so you don't have to spend tons and tons and tons of time, and then you can fill your calendar with people that show up to those live events.
So are you getting, when you get people to go through the process and get real clear about who they want to work with and why they want to work with them, and then be able to put content out there that helps them communicate those ideas, how are they driving traffic to those audio events that you're talking about? Are they just doing invites? Is it all on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, with LinkedIn, I have people create a landing page so they're constantly building an email list. So, because it's not just people on LinkedIn, you want to take people off LinkedIn. So the email list, typically my clients are getting anywhere from 30 to 100 new emails a month. Okay, so that's one thing. So they have the email list. You have the event page, and from the event page, you can invite, as I was saying, 1,000 people per week. But those are to your connections. I mean, if you have 500 connections and they're not in your target market, so we need to fill those connections, and there's a process to go through doing that. The thing that's really cool is, are you on LinkedIn much? If you're not, it's okay.
I am.
Okay, so polls. A lot of people are like, I don't like polls. It doesn't matter if you like them or not. Polls, because the way they're set up, normal content, 3% or less of people will engage. A poll, you have about 4 times as many people that are going to engage. And so what I use polls for is LinkedIn is the place where I blank. Okay, and then the poll questions are, hope to grow my business, where I waste too much time. So all the people that respond to my poll that hope to grow my business, guess what? If they're in my target market, they're not growing their business they hope to. So I invite those people directly from the poll to connect with them, and a high percentage of those will join the audio event. Those are just some tactics that are very helpful to fill the event. And obviously,
But that's one really good tactic that listeners can take away and think about. That it doesn't cost them much.
Nope.
I mean, they probably, if you have a Navigator membership or high premium membership with LinkedIn, but it's just time and asking good questions and being authentic and making sure your profile is right, because somebody's might go look at your profile, and if that's all off base. So your process takes them through progression of building all these things out and then being able to do these events, and they've built this all out. Does that, and I'm sure it varies, but is that measured in weeks or months typically if you've got a motivated client?
Yeah, if I have a motivated client, I've had clients that start onboarding new clients within a week. Now that's exceptional, but they should start scheduling meetings within 2 weeks, and within 4 to 6 weeks, they should be onboarding new clients. Can I drop another tactic that will be really helpful for people?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's called, are you familiar with Dr. Robert Cialdini? He wrote the book,
Yes.
6 Ways to Influence.
Persuasion.
Yeah,
Well, he's written a few books.
Yeah, and then after the 6 Ways to Influence, it was like scarcity, a law of reciprocity, all these different things. He said the 7th thing is even more powerful than the 6, and that was the unity principle. The unity principle is if you have someone that has a similar background with you, like for instance, college, you went to the same college, on LinkedIn, I have one client, he went to Ohio State, okay? I see your Michigan helmet back there, by the way. So he went to Ohio State, and there's a lot of people that are in his target market, and all he has to do is OH, okay? And it's like another Buckeye alumni, I hope to connect. He has a 95% connection rate. He's had 565 connections. I just talked to him today in our Q&A session, and that's within the last 4 weeks. And these are people in his target market. So if you have a college background, you could use other things, but that's the most powerful because it's formidable years. And you have people in the target market that are going to the same college. That's how you can build your people from your target market in demographics. Now, demographics and psychographics, you need to have the demographics before moving them into psychographics, and I can speak to that, but I know we're short on time.
No, you got time. Go ahead. Because the psychographic is, I think, is a piece that most people sort of miss. They understand geography and, the basics of industry and things, but the psychographic part is a little bit more nebulous for most people. So if you can help clarify that, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So a lot of times psychographic is like 85% of my clients have dogs, okay? So that's one, but I'm talking more along the lines, if you have demographic, it's a decision maker, like a founder in a certain size company, in a certain industry, in a geographic area. 3% of those or less are ready to make buying decisions. Psychographic is a lot higher percentage of people are ready to make buying decisions. I just gave the example of my poll where LinkedIn is where I blank. This is actually a poll I've used. And LinkedIn is where I hope to grow my business. That's one of the poll choices. If someone is in my target market and they answer that question, LinkedIn is where I hope to grow my business, guess what? They just put their hand up. They're in my target market demographically, but they've moved themselves over to psychographic because I have a need that you can help with. So psychographic, the way I define it, is people in your demographic that are actually putting their hand up and saying, I have a need that you can solve. Same with people who register for events. If I'm talking about how to build your business with ChatGPT, if you're talking about ChatGPT. So people that come to that or even register and don't show up, they're in a psychographic search, and there's people that you can follow up after the event, even if they didn't attend. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's just another subtle piece where somebody has been able to self-identify effectively that they sort of fit and that you might be able to help them, and it just takes a little bit of effort on your part to go engage with them in a authentic, interesting, educational manner. Because I think that's another piece. Because people I hear a lot of I don't want to be salesy, and I nobody wants to be like the used car salesman with the weird blazer and the clip-on tie. But I absolutely hate that that metaphor. But that's what people think about when they think salesperson.
Right.
And I've always tried to look at it from I want to help somebody within the sphere that I can help.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first person to raise my hand when I hear something that that's a red flag. And I'm going to go poke around to see if that's going to be a problem. And if it is, I'm going to say, I don't think we have a fit here. Here's why. But I also have a relationship with a lot of other people where it's like, hey, you know what? You might need to talk to Chaz. He's got a thing that I think will resonate with you. And let me make an introduction. Because to me, that's part of the that's part of the fun of this podcast is I'm expanding my world. I got over 100 episodes. So I've got, over 100 people that are in my orbit that I can go pull out and say, here's a clip from this. Go listen to what Chaz said. And I think it might be something you guys should connect with. Because I'm not, like I said before, right? We're not always the right fit for everybody.
Yes, exactly.
And we need to identify that and then disqualify. It's fine to disqualify people, and salespeople are afraid to do that.
No, I was just talking to my clients in my Q&A session today about going for no. And, when you go for no, people are more likely to say yes. And it does. It qualifies or disqualifies them. And as I was telling them, and as I was taking them through a training, when I take someone from an intro call into a what I call a strategy session, it's always, this is what I find would work best to get clarity for you and for me, and let me know if you're interested. If you're not, no worries whatsoever. And I say this, and I was telling them, it's like just that subtlety of giving them a way out will confirm if they're really interested in having the conversation or not. And people who are going to say, well, I'm not sure, I need to think about it, I'm not going to waste my time with them. And if I get into the conversation, like you said, and I appreciate that, intention to serve is my intention, is the number one step of my sales process. I go with the intention to serve in all of my conversations, and they could be a networking partner, a collaboration partner, or yes, they could be a client. And based on that first conversation, which is 20 minutes, I'll say, John, you know what? I don't think I'd be the best fit. I'm going to refer you to whoever based on and I do this consistently all the time because I'm not going to waste time with someone who's not going to be a good fit for me. It's just not.
It's respectful.
Yes, it is. And when you do this, guess what? People will refer people to you. It happens consistently.
It's a respect of everybody's time, including yourself.
Yes.
Salespeople need to respect their own time as well as the time of others. And I think that's another element that salespeople don't really value their time, and they minimize their stature.
Oh man!
So quickly in a conversation, like thank you for taking the time.
Ooh.
Right? Come on, your time is just as valuable as the prospects if you're delivering value. If you're not, then go work on a used car lot because that's kind of where it fits.
This I tell my clients all the time. Here's your prospect. You're equals. But don't make yourself subservient. Oh, thank you so much for meeting with me, Mr. Prospect. No. You're the authority, and I call this the mess principle. You're the authority. If you go down here and allow them to control the process, it will end up a mess for you and for them. And you're equals, but you're the authority, and it's your job to guide and direct the conversation. Otherwise, it will end up a mess. It's not about coercing them or shoving them. It's about taking them through a proven process that's going to save you time. It's going to save them time. And when they see you as an authority, as delivering your solution and controlling the process as an authority, not authoritarian, the respect level in their mind of you is going to be way up here.
And that's what we want is respect, trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because you build a rapport, and that needs to lead to trust, and you get the trust through credibility and consistency, and it's not about being liked. I don't need to go for long walks on the beach with clients. I need them to be successful,
right,
and to execute and understand. I need to communicate. I need to help and guide and show empathy and all of that. So I mean, there's some really good nuggets there that you've shared with the audience so that they can take little principles. You've given them enough of who you are for them to know, hey, maybe I should go talk to Chaz. So
yeah, awesome.
So we'll have all of your LinkedIn and your YouTube channel will be in the show notes. Those are the two best ways to go reach out to Chaz.
Yes.
So a question for you here. I like to wrap up the podcast with this question: past or present relationship with cigars?
Yes. I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. He's passed away now, and he was a big cigar aficionado. And I thought, hey, cigars are cool. So if I had some guys over, we go on the back deck, we smoke cigars, you know, my son was born, my daughter was born, I would take that time to enjoy that. I never did enjoy it, but at least I thought it was cool. And I did that. So I think I went through like a 4 or 5 year period that I was smoking cigars on special occasions. I just don't think I was smoking it right. Maybe I was inhaling it or something like that. But it was kind of a cool experience. You know, have like a glass of whiskey, smoke a cigar, talk with the guys. So that was my experience with cigars.
It's an experience for me. I like the social aspect of it. What you're talking about, where you know you got a group of guys, you get together, you're talking smart, you're smoking a cigar, you're usually some sort of cocktail involved, you're solving the world's problems, right? Even though we're not. And you know, and having to be, you know, being a bit of an aficionado and starting to, I still like. I'm amazed with people. Like I love wine, and my wife and I do a lot of wine tastings, and
That's fun.
I know what I like. I can taste, you know, I can taste some fruit. I can taste the tannins, but the people that get really esoteric and can really understand, they lose me with that part. I appreciate it,
Right.
but same thing with cigars. Like I know what I like. I know what's too much. The first time I had a cigar, it was awful experience. I got sick because what did I do? I had never smoked a cigarette in my life, still haven't, but I inhaled the cigar.
Swisher Sweets,
And
I think, was my first cigar. Is that what you smoked?
no, I had a very expensive Padron.
Oh, wow.
Sitting at a bar in Traverse City, in Michigan, with a little young lady I was dating, and it was a terrible experience because I got sick. But I since learned you don't inhale cigars.
Yeah.
You sort of savor them and you know go with it that way. So appreciate the share. Thank you again for so many great ideas that we put out here.
My
I appreciate
pleasure.
you jumping on. So appreciate it.